So welcome back. Now, in this final segment of our session on Jainism, we're going to turn to philosophy and ask how Jains tried to deal with those same problems that we looked at in the case of the Upanishads. What's the nature of your soul? How does karma affect your soul? What happens when your body dies? And is there a way to escape the cycles of death and rebirth? So to do this, we're going to turn to some passages from a Jain scripture that's called the Tattvartha Sutra, that which is. It's a very important work, and it was composed sometime around 150 CE by a writer named Umaswati. The text is, I think, it's extremely valuable for basically three reasons. First, the text gives us a coherent vision of the religious doctrine of Jainism in a kind of condensed form, an aphoristic way, which later gets lots and lots of commentaries and explanations by Jain thinkers for thousands of years. So it's an important text for the community. Second, it's the first Jain text written in the elite language of Sanskrit. Until then, everything was composed in the vernaculars in Prakrit. Now, how come this change? Well, basically, it seems like Umaswati, this author, was trying to do something intellectually advanced, technical, and something that he wanted to produce a text that would withstand the test of time, and so he chose to write his text in Sanskrit. Seems to have worked because it did withstand the test of time, and it's the only text to be accepted as scripture by both sects of Jainism. The Digambaras and Shvetambaras, they both have their separate canons, but this text is the only one that's common to both canons. So now let's take a kind of very quick glance at how this Tattvartha Sutra defines what souls are, what karma is, how karma sticks to your souls, how you can remove it, and what happens when you finally do remove it and get liberation. So first, how do the Jains kind of conceptualize the soul? The term used to mean the soul in Jainism is jiva, which literally means life or like life force. And it's basically equivalent to our Upanishadic idea of Atman that we've been talking about so far, but with a slightly different set of properties. A jiva, according to the Jains, can be of two kinds. It can either be stuck in this world or it can be liberated. If it's stuck in this world, a jiva can take on from 1 to 5 senses. These living beings now, everything that has sentience, then get ranked on a scale that's based on how many senses they have. So things that have only one sense are on the bottom, the sense of touch. These are elementals like stones, water, fire, plants, trees, other inanimate objects, basically. Then in the second level, you have more crude critters like worms or leeches or mollusks that are thought to have 2 senses. They can touch and taste. Then above them are animals with 3 senses, with 4 senses. Finally, you get to animals that have all 5 senses. Then there's also humans, gods, demigods, and others who are ranked a bit higher than those animals because they also have rational thought on top of the senses. But no matter where they're ranked, all beings have jivas inside them. They have this life force, and all of them have accrued karma and are stuck in samsara, in the process of death and rebirth. Some beings die quicker, some beings die slower, but eventually everything, even things like rocks and fire and water, will ultimately die, according to Jain theory. Now, where do jivas live? They can live on the earth, they can live in the heavens where the gods live, or they can live in the 7 hells where the demons live. But all jivas have to occupy bodies that will die. And then, because of the karma that stains them, they'll get new bodies until the jivas can be rid of all the karma that's stuck to it, in which case it shoots up to the highest place in the cosmos, an abode of liberated souls. How can that happen? Well, the only way to get there, to liberate your soul, your jiva, from the samsara, is to get rid of all the karma that traps you within it. Karma is interesting in the Jain way of thinking about it. It's imagined to actually be a substance. and it's not pure action like it's in the Upanishads. Karma is basically like really, really tiny dirt particles that stick to your jiva. They're attracted to your jiva because of various actions that your body does. Now, according to the Jains, these actions aren't just physical, but they also include things you say and things you think. So thinking bad thoughts, saying bad things, will also make karma stick to your jiva. Try telling that to politicians, right? Karma sticks to or bonds to the soul because of various properties that you put onto the soul. So if you have ignorance, passion, negligence, sexual activity, and other things, if you eliminate those aspects of your being, then the idea is that those little particles of karma don't have any way to stick to your soul. Now, karma isn't just purely bad. It can be beneficial or harmful to the soul to various degrees and for different durations. Some karmas can be really good or really bad. Other karma can just be a little bit good or a little bit bad. And some kinds of karma can stick to your soul for a really, really long time. Some can wear off pretty quickly. It depends on the way that the karma is colored or the passion with which the actions are done. Maybe a bit confusing, but there's actually like a standard Jain parable that illustrates this idea I'm talking about. So there are 6 men who see a mango tree, and they each take different approaches to getting those ripe mangoes on the tree. The one with the darkest amount of karma decides to cut the whole tree down and eat the ripe mangoes. So he commits the kind of greatest amount of harm to the tree. The next one decides to chop down just one entire branch to get at the mangoes. The next one chops just a few twigs of the tree to get the mangoes. The next one plucks the mangoes from the tree without doing any chopping. Then finally, the kind of cleanest one, the one whose karma is least damaging, waits for the mangoes to fall naturally, and then he collects and eats them. He still has actually harmed the tree, since all eating does cause some amount of harm, but his is the least damaging in comparison to the other 5. So the basic idea is that karma, it's the karma that's stuck to your jiva that'll pull it into a new body. And in order for the jiva to escape death and future rebirths, you have to clean the dang thing, right? All of the pre-existing karma has to be forcibly wiped away, and you have to kind of stop getting new karma during your lifetime. Only then can your soul get liberated. Now, let's see how the Jains say that your karma can get eliminated. For one, you have to follow 5 vows as a Jain monk, and they're designed to kind of cut off the inflow of new karmas onto the body that is carrying your jiva. The vows help to eliminate all your passions and attachments so that these new karmas don't have anything to stick to. To get rid of existing karmas that your jiva has already accrued in your previous lives, this Tattvartha Sutra gives 2 possibilities. You can one thing is you can wait, right? Karmas have their own natural shelf life. They get ripe and they mature and they fall off on their own. But it can take like astronomically vast amounts of time, depending on the kind of karma that you're talking about. And until that happens, you're sort of stuck with suffering all of the negative effects. Another second way of getting rid of karmas that are already stuck to your jiva is to engage in austerities or tapas. These are all the hardships and self-mortification practices that, if you remember, Mahavira had done to himself. These austerities come in 2 different kinds also. There's external austerities and internal austerities. External austerities involve kind of physically challenging your body. You're challenging yourself to overcome your attachment to your body. So things like fasting, solitude, standing in a difficult posture, exposing yourself to the elements, and all these other physical hardships. Internal austerities are ways to kind of mentally cleanse your body on the inside. Things like doing penance, doing service to temples and others, engaging in scriptural study, and the most common one is meditation. All of these things eliminate karmas inside. Right? So what happens finally when you forcibly remove all that karmic dirt off of your jiva. To see that, I thought we could actually read through exactly what Umaswati had to say about this at the very end of his Tattvartha Sutra that he wrote in the 2nd century CE. Here's what he says. Omniscience arises when deluding karma is eliminated, and as a result, knowledge covering, intuition covering, and obstructive karma are eliminated. These are the different kinds of karma that cover and confine your jiva in different ways. There is no fresh bondage because the causes of bondage have been eliminated and all destructive karmas have worn off. The elimination of all types of karma is liberation. Now, once this liberation takes place, something kind of miraculous is supposed to happen. And let's take a look at this. When all karmic bondage is eliminated, the soul soars upward to the border of cosmic space. Wow, that's pretty wild, right? The soul soars up by virtue of the antecedent impetus, separation from karmic particles, severance of the karmic bondage, and its innate mode of upward flight. So now, even though the jiva kind of wants to rise, it still has a limit of where it can go, according to Jain cosmology. It can't go up forever. Right? The liberated soul cannot go outside cosmic space because there is no medium of motion beyond. So I guess the idea is that there's a whole bunch of liberated souls living at the very top of cosmic space. Kind of, this is what you have to look forward to, I guess, should you ever get there. You're going to just be floating at the very top of cosmic space. Anyway, there you have it in a nutshell. Jain karma theory and what happens when you're liberated. It's quite a bit different, I think you'll agree, from the Upanishadic approach to karma that we looked at last time. Now, in our next stop, we're going to look at a third religious perspective, Buddhism, that also developed around 500 BC. And then, as a way to kind of wrap up this whole first leg of our long journey, I'd like to sort of place them all in conversation with each other to get a sense of what people were kind of arguing over and really what they cared about in that post-Vedic age. So till then, keep your jivas as clean as you can. Try to watch out for bugs when you're walking around.